So let's do this. Hey everybody, what's going on? So in this section, we are going to talk all things about the differences between remote sales and traditional sales, okay? And the reason why I want to have this section here is because I want to show you what the difference is between the two and the similarities and how you can apply skills in one area into the other. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, the first type of sales we're going to talk about is traditional sales. Okay, so this is essentially how sales was pretty much done in the past decade or two, where people are coming into an office to do sales activity. 5 days a week, whether it's sales prospecting or closing over the phone or online. Essentially, people are coming into a physical office, and there's obviously a culture and environment where they can lean on other employees and learn from them and see how things are done and learn how to sell. Okay, now when it comes to traditional sales, there are going to be some pros and cons to this. Okay, the pros of traditional sales is that it's really easy to communicate with your peers and other salespeople and really just pick up the good habits that they have and learn how you can sell products and services. There's more of a company culture where culture is very important when it comes to the everyday work environment. So you're going to have that in play. And obviously, it's a lot more social, right? It's very easy to just, go over to the other side of the room and say, hey, how's it going? And, ask questions and things like that. But the cons of traditional sales is that you actually have to be in a physical office, meaning you have to drive to work or somehow get to work every single day. And there's going to be a commute, there's going to be travel, and the work hours are not flexible since, essentially the company would want everyone to be in the office around the same time, whether it's like from 9 to 5 p.m. Now, I'll add that for traditional sales, you can actually be coming into an office every single day, and you can be selling your products and services completely online remotely. Meaning that if you're selling remotely but doing traditional sales, it means that you're basically coming in and you're selling to clients over the phone, through email and Zoom calls and video calls. And you may not even see the client in person, but then everything is done from a central hub and you're in person doing it, okay? So even if you're doing traditional sales, you could still be selling remotely in a sense, but you have to come to an office. Now let's go ahead and talk about remote sales, where, obviously this is going to be a lot more popular these days and is a lot more trending. And that's essentially when you are working from home. Okay, so when I talk about remote sales in this regard, it means you're working from home or you're working independently, not going into an office every single day. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of doing this, right? So let's say you are working remotely at a company and you're doing remote sales, right? So you don't have to come to an office. You got flexible hours, meaning you don't have to physically be somewhere every single day. Another pro is that there's going to be a lot less distractions because, although there are some pros to social activities and talking to one another, less distractions mean that, nobody's bothering you and you can focus 100% of your time on your work. But the challenges people have when it comes to remote sales is that they find it more difficult to be self-motivated, right? Because you have to essentially motivate yourself and you're only communicating with your team over your laptop or computer. This makes it a little more difficult to communicate because you can't easily ask questions. You have to either, set up a, conference call or a video call with somebody, or maybe talk to them in a Slack channel or whichever method of communication your team has through chat. And it's a little more difficult to get training and coaching because, again, you can't just physically, sit down with somebody and have a coffee with them and get some coaching and training. You have to schedule a meeting, and maybe not everything will translate through video. So, although there are pros to remote working where you're a lot more independent, the con is you're also a lot more independent at the same time. Now, there are going to be some similarities between remote and traditional sales, right? Oh, actually, you got to redo this part. Now, there are going to be some similarities between remote and traditional sales. In both remote and traditional sales, you can sell your products and services remotely via phone and online. So like I said before, even when it comes to traditional sales and you're coming to an office every day, let's say you're an SDR, sales development rep, and you're doing sales prospecting. If you're cold calling, sending emails and LinkedIn messages, you actually don't have to physically see your client in person to make a sale. You can actually just come into the office and make a sale online. So that's actually pretty interesting because, the same exact skills you use in remote selling is the same thing in traditional sales. The only difference is that you're not physically going to an office every single day, right? So, like I said before, in traditional sales, you don't ever have to see your clients and prospects in person, right? You can do all of this online, right? And many of the skills you learn in inside sales are directly applicable to remote sales. And when I say inside sales, all that means is that you are selling from inside an environment. You're not doing field sales, right? So field sales is a little different. Field sales is when you're going into the field, meeting the customer in person, whether it's going to their shop, their office, and you're selling to them, and you have to do that before you make a sale. But for inside sales, you can come to an office every single day and sell from the inside remotely. So that's why whether you do inside sales at a company or you're doing the exact same thing from your bedroom or your house, those exact same skill sets apply. So the key difference between remote sales and traditional sales, like I said before, is that your day-to-day environment and culture is going to be different, right? So, in traditional sales, going into an office every day, you got a culture, you got an environment, you got people that can train you and help you out, and you can ask questions on the fly. It's really quick to communicate. For remote selling, you have to schedule everything online, whether it's a call or a conference line, and you have to really make sure that you're communicating with everybody to make sure you're doing it right and you're getting the right coaching and training. But for the most part, inside sales and remote sales, pretty much the exact same process when it comes to prospecting, selling over the phone, doing presentations online, exactly the same skill set. So all the things that you learn in this course, you can actually apply to both remote sales and traditional sales if you're doing inside sales. And so with that said, those are going to be the similarities and differences between remote and traditional sales. And I'm going to see you guys in the next section.